Hi everyone, so welcome to another academic video. This one is all about being a teaching fellow at a university. So I'm based at a UK university, and you may have seen over the last few weeks we've been looking at different academic career pathways within UK universities. So I'm a lecturer, I lecture in physics, and the pathway I'm on is the kind of the traditional one really, so lecturer, senior lecturer, reader to professor. But that is not your only pathway through as an academic having a university career. So you can also elect to focus exclusively on research or on teaching. I've made a previous video about the research focused route, so now it's time for the teaching focused route. So today is all about those of us who want to teach at university but want to focus on teaching as our primary part of our job. So being a teaching fellow, what does the job actually require? If I was to break it down, and bearing in mind I am not a teaching fellow, so my experience of this is based from my colleagues, my friends who are on this pathway, and from a good old bit of research. Typically then, the job is going to require you to lead in lectures or seminars or laboratory classes, and that can be to undergraduate and postgraduate students. You may be involved in curriculum review, so you could be looking at module content that's being taught at the university or teaching materials that are being used within the classroom. You might well be involved in pastoral care, so this could be looking after the well-being of students, and you may find yourself as a personal tutor. And of course, you will probably most likely have some kind of academic administration role. There's lots of things that need to be done to keep a department ticking over. And so you might find that within your teaching fellow role, you are asked to take part in some kind of administration. And things that might be linked to goals could be assessment progress. You could be looking at student grades, student attendance, reviewing teaching quality, reviewing the student experience. There are plenty of things that you might find yourself doing aside to everyday teaching in order to help keep the department ticking along nicely. And actually, as a teaching fellow, although you're going to be focused on these teaching duties, it doesn't mean you won't ever do research. Some teaching fellows will still do a small amount of research focused on their subject, but quite often teaching fellows are involved in pedagogical or pedagogic research. And what is that kind of research? Well, it's the kind of research that enhances theoretical and the conceptual understanding of teaching. You might be researching teaching and learning processes, it could be teaching experiences, or it could be teaching outcomes and context. And this research you might conduct as an individual, you might actually be working alongside colleagues, and of course you may be aspiring to publish this research maybe within journal publications, or indeed possibly contribute chapters or write sections of textbooks and books. And I only really dabbled in this when I was doing my graduate teaching certificate, but it was really interesting looking at how you put out a fair survey or how you conduct this kind of pedagogic research in a way that's going to give you data that tries not to be biased as much as possible. So yeah, it's a fascinating area of research, and as a teaching fellow you might well find yourself teaching but then doing some of this pedagogic research as well. As a teaching fellow, you're really designing effective teaching materials, you are contributing or have responsibility for the curriculum, and you are involved in delivering that material in the classroom, be that a lecture, a tutorial, a lab class or a seminar. And just like the other career pathways at a university, you can progress. You may enter as a teaching assistant, then you might become a teaching fellow, then a senior teaching fellow. The terms are going to change slightly from university to university, but at some point, you're going to get up to the high levels where you could become, say, a professor in teaching. So there is lots of opportunities here for career progression. Contracts, sometimes the contracts are fixed term and sometimes the contracts are open-ended contracts. So you might be employed as a teaching fellow for a certain number of years or for a particular kind of period of time, or you may find yourself on an open-ended contract where you are effectively a permanent member at the university and your contract just renews each year. As academics, the teaching academics, so those who are teaching fellows, senior teaching fellows, they work directly alongside the lecturers, the senior lecturers, the readers and professors, and they also work directly alongside kind of the research academic members of staff. I guess typically the teaching fellows and the research fellows possibly don't see each other as much because their interests are slightly different, but the teaching fellows definitely work alongside the lecturers and the senior lecturers. You know, they might share classroom duties, they could share responsibilities for a particular year cohort, they might be on the same committees within their department. You know, it's very much, well, at least in my experience at my department, it's very much a kind of a one team together identity. What do you need then in order to be a teaching fellow? Most likely the job requirements is going to ask that you have experience and have evidence of experience. You're going to need to have subject knowledge for the subject that you want to teach in. And here in the UK, that is most likely going to be a degree, probably coupled with some kind of higher degree, some kind of master's level qualification. Some subjects are going to need you to have a PhD. I'm in physics. I think pretty much all of the teaching fellows at my university, everyone's got a PhD. Other subjects won't need you to have a PhD. Some subjects may want you to sign up for the role and be happy to get a PhD whilst you're actually doing your teaching fellow duties. So it can vary a little bit subject to subject. And then on top of that, you might find that particular courses or particular universities ask for additional qualifications. You could be asked to show evidence of maybe a postgraduate diploma in higher education, a postgraduate certificate in higher education. Maybe they will want you to belong to a particular organisation. So as I said, in a previous video, I spoke a little bit about belonging to the higher education. It used to be called the Higher Education Academy. In the video, I explained how the name has changed, but essentially I hold the position now of FHEA, so that's a Fellow of the Higher Education Academy. It's not really a qualification as such, but it shows that I've been through a professional training course and I've understood and developed my kind of teaching best practice. I'll include a link to that video in the comments below. But what you're really needing to show is that you have got an enthusiasm and a passion and a skill for being able to share your subject knowledge with your students. And that, as I said, could be undergraduate students or it could be postgraduate students. I've not been through the teaching fellow interview. I've been through, well, my interviews were for becoming a lecturer, not for becoming a teaching fellow. But what I might try to do is get one of my colleagues who's been through the process of interviewing to be a teaching fellow, just to answer some questions about what it was like. So if you have any burning question you'd like to ask an academic about what it was like to kind of go through that application and interview process to be a teaching fellow, let me know and I'll try to get one of my friendly colleagues to answer those questions. I hope that helped a bit. I hope if you're considering becoming a teaching fellow, I at least addressed a few of the things you might be thinking about. As I said, leave me a comment or any questions and I might try to rope in one of my friendly colleagues to see if they can help answer some of them. But I'll be back next week with another academic video. Here every Monday, I tend to put my videos out at 10 AM here in the UK. So please do hit like, subscribe, all the really nice YouTube stuff. Have a good week, keep looking after yourselves, have a good few days, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye.